The lawyer handed out envelopes at my grandfather's funeral reception. One by one, my family opened theirs. My cousin Sarah pulled out a check, $2 million. Her brother got $3 million. Uncle Dan opened his $5 million plus the company shares. My mom got the beach house in Cape Cod. Then everyone turned to me. I opened mine, a plane ticket to Monaco, and a handwritten note that said, "Go alone. Trust me." The room went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then my cousin laughed. "Wait, you got a vacation? That's it?" Uncle Dan shook his head. "Maybe he forgot to finish your envelope, sweetie." My mom didn't even look at me. She just folded her deed and walked away. But here's what none of them knew. That plane ticket wasn't a gift. It was a key, and it was about to unlock something worth $51 million. So where are you watching from? And what time is it there? Drop it below. And if you've ever been the underestimated one in your family, hit that like button. You're going to want to see how this plays out. To understand why Grandpa did this, you need to know how different I was from the rest of them. Every summer, my cousins went to beach parties and Europe trips funded by Grandpa's checks. I went to his house. While they were posting vacation photos, I was sitting across a chessboard from a 90-year-old man who never let me win. "You see the board?" he'd say. "Most people see the pieces they want to take. You need to see the whole picture." My family thought I was boring. Grandpa called me the only one paying attention. He taught me accounting basics, how to read a contract, why documentation beats emotion every single time. He made me keep a journal of every lesson. I still have 4 of them, stacked in my closet. The rest of the family only showed up on holidays, and only when they needed something. "Dad, can you help with the down payment?" "Grandpa, my business needs a bridge loan." He'd write the checks. He never said no. But after they left, he'd look at me and shake his head. One summer, when I was 16, he made me organize his file cabinet. 3 full days of boring paperwork. My cousins were invited. They all said no. I said yes, and I'm so glad I did, because that's how I learned he kept everything. Every receipt, every letter, every record. "Write it down," he told me. "Evidence beats emotion. Remember that." 6 months before he died, I visited him in the hospital. He squeezed my hand, looked me right in the eye and said, "Monaco, when the time comes, go. Don't tell them why." I didn't understand. At the funeral, holding that ticket while my family laughed, I was about to. 2 days after the funeral, my mom and Uncle Dan asked me to meet them at the estate. "We need to talk about your envelope," my mom said. I sat down at the same table where we'd had Thanksgiving every year. Uncle Dan slid into the chair across from me, wearing his concerned face. "Honey, we're a little worried," he said. "That plane ticket, it's strange, don't you think?" I didn't say anything. "I mean, Dad was confused at the end," my mom added. "We all saw it." Uncle Dan nodded. "It's possible he meant to give you something else and just forgot." Then he pulled out his checkbook. "I'll give you $15,000 for the ticket. It's probably just sentimental. We can frame it with his photo." I looked at the check he'd already written out. "I'm not selling it," I said. My mom's face changed. The fake warmth disappeared. "Fine, then let me ask you something else." She leaned forward. "You spent all that time with him. Did he say anything about other accounts? Other assets?" And there it was. Uncle Dan slid a piece of paper across the table. It was an affidavit, pre-drafted, typed up by their lawyer. It said my grandfather had been mentally unfit for the past year, that his will should be voided and everything redistributed equally. 2 witness signatures were already on it. My cousins. All it needed was mine. "Family takes care of family," Uncle Dan said. I stood up. "He was sharper at 90 than you've ever been." I walked out. My mom's voicemail came that night. "You have 72 hours before we file. Choose your side." I chose his. I booked the flight to Monaco anyway. The next morning, a courier showed up at my apartment. Legal papers. A petition to freeze the entire estate, pending a competency hearing. Uncle Dan had filed it. That included the $8,000 Grandpa had left in a small checking account. Money he'd told me was for travel expenses. Frozen. I couldn't afford the hotel anymore. Then my cousin Sarah posted on Instagram a photo of her and Grandpa, black and white filter, sad face emoji. The caption: "It's heartbreaking when grief makes people selfish. Family first, always." 12,000 likes in 2 hours. The comments were brutal. Who's being selfish? Apparently his grandkid is trying to take everything. A local news blog picked it up. My phone started getting messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Angry messages. I called a lawyer friend for advice. She sighed. They have 2 witnesses and a neurologist who'll testify he showed cognitive decline. You have a plane ticket and no money. I'm sorry, but this looks really bad. That night, I stood in Grandpa's empty study. The estate sale was scheduled for next week. Everything would be gone. I held the ticket in my hand. What if I was wrong? What if he really had just been confused? Then I saw it. The old file cabinet from that summer. The one I'd organized. I opened the bottom drawer and pulled out a folder. It was labeled Monaco 1959 present. I didn't open it yet. I just held it. And I made a choice. Trust a dead man's plan or crawl back and sign their paper. I chose trust. I opened that folder at 3 a.m. Inside were decades of letters, all on heavy cream-colored paper. The letterhead said, Archambault and Partners, Monaco. Private client services since 1889. I started reading. Most of it was formal. Vague references to quarterly distributions and asset management. But then I found one letter, dated April 2018. Handwritten note at the bottom, from someone named Lefebvre. Per your instructions, the quarterly distributions will cease upon your passing. Full asset disclosure will be made only to the key holder presenting in person with item 7-Z. Clipped to the letter was a photocopy of the plane ticket, the exact same flight number I was holding in my hand. He'd booked this ticket 4 years ago, and according to a sticky note in his handwriting, he'd renewed it every single year. I kept digging. At the very back of the folder in a small envelope, I found a key. Slim. Silver. No bank name. Just a number stamped on it. 16-227. I sat back. This wasn't a gift. It wasn't some random sentimental gesture. It was a test. And I was the only one invited to take it. Grandpa hadn't humiliated me at that funeral. He'd sorted us. I grabbed my passport and checked the flight time. 18 hours. I didn't tell anyone. I just went. I landed in Nice 22 hours later. Took the helicopter transfer to Monaco. Grandpa had prepaid it. Of course he had. I checked into the hotel, a small place near the harbor, and that's when my phone exploded. 7 missed calls from my mom, 12 texts from Uncle Dan, and an email from their lawyer. Subject line: Emergency injunction filed. They'd gone to court that morning. Filed a motion to stop any dissipation of estate assets, and they'd specifically flagged my travel. The filing claimed I was fleeing jurisdiction with intent to hide assets. I didn't have any assets. I had a plane ticket and a key. My mom called again. I answered, If you're running off to Europe while we're trying to protect Dad's legacy, don't bother coming home. She hung up before I could say anything. Then I saw it. A video. Posted 2 hours ago by my cousin Sarah. She was crying on camera. I don't understand how someone could care more about money than family. Grandpa would be so heartbroken right now. The video had 15,000 views. Comments poured in. Most of them hateful. Some of them directed at me by name. A local news account reposted it. 20,000 more views. My lawyer friend texted me. Judge scheduled a hearing in 6 days. If you're not back to defend yourself, they'll win by default. I checked my calendar. The Monaco appointment with Archambault and Partners was in 4 days. First available slot. 6 days to the hearing, 4 days to the meeting. If I missed either one, I'd lose everything. I looked at myself in the hotel mirror, and I heard Grandpa's voice in my head. Evidence beats emotion. Okay, I whispered. Then let's go get the evidence. 4 days later, I walked into an office on Avenue de Monte Carlo. Marble floors, old paintings, the kind of place that doesn't advertise. A man in his 60s met me at the door. Mademoiselle, I am Monsieur Lefebvre. We've been expecting you. He smiled. For 4 years, in fact. He led me to a private conference room and gestured to a chair. Then he slid a leather portfolio across the table. I opened it. Inside was a will, signed, notarized, and filed with Monaco authorities in 2019. I started reading. The first section covered the U.S. estate, the millions my family had received. It called them distribution of liquid assets. Everything they got was real, legal, theirs. But then I got to Section 2. The trust principal, held in Monaco since 1959, valued at 47 million euros, shall pass wholly to my name. I stopped breathing. Lefebvre leaned forward. Your grandfather built this from a single investment after the war. He was very deliberate about its protection. I kept reading. The condition was right there in the clause. Contingent upon in-person presentation, ensuring comprehension of value over entitlement. I looked up. Did he know they'd come after me? Lefebvre nodded. He called it the sorting. He said if you trusted him, you'd come. If they loved him, they'd let you. He poured me a glass of water. They failed. You did not. 47 million euros. Roughly 51 million US dollars. I had the proof. Now I just had to get it home. Lefebvre handed me one more thing. A sealed envelope, my name on the front, in Grandpa's handwriting. He asked that you read this here, not at home. I opened it. The letter was 2 pages. Handwritten. He explained everything. Why he split the estate the way he did. Why he gave them millions but gave me the trust. I gave your uncle, your mother, and your cousins enough to be comfortable. But if they knew about Monaco, they would burn through it and destroy each other fighting for more. Then he listed the reasons. Uncle Dan had gambling debts, $600,000. Grandpa had paid them off twice. He had the receipts. My mom hadn't worked in 15 years. She lived on image and expected family money to sustain it. My cousins had started 3 businesses between them. All 3 failed. All 3 funded by Grandpa. I gave them money because I loved them, he wrote. I gave you the trust because I respect you. Then came the part that made me cry. They will hate you for this. That is the price of being the one who listens. I'm sorry for the pain this will cause, but I trust you to use it wisely. Not as they would. Not loudly. He signed it, your grandpa, the one who saw you. I folded the letter. Lefebvre was quiet. He didn't punish them, I said. No, Lefebvre agreed. He simply refused to enable them. And you became the boundary. I finally understood. Now I knew exactly what to do. I didn't call them. I didn't gloat. I didn't post anything. I just executed the plan Grandpa had taught me to build. Quietly, with evidence. Step 1. I retained Lefebvre's firm to courier certified copies of the Monaco trust deed and the 2019 will to the U.S. probate court, along with a signed affidavit that I was not contesting their distributions. They could keep the millions he gave them. This was never about taking anything from them. Step 2. I hired the best estate litigation attorney in Boston, a woman named Ruth Castor. I sent her everything. The Monaco filings. The letters. Grandpa's handwritten note. Lefebvre's witness statement. Her job was simple. Crush the competency claim. Because Grandpa had filed legal documents in Monaco 2 years after they claimed his mind was gone. Documents that required mental clarity, international notarization, and verified intent. Their timeline didn't just fall apart. It exploded. Step 3. I drafted a letter to my mother and Uncle Dan. 1 paragraph. No emotion. The ticket led where it was supposed to. You have what he left you. I have what he left me. The fight is over. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I just attached a copy of the Monaco deed. 3 couriers left Monaco that afternoon. 1 to the court, 1 to my family's lawyer, 1 to my mother's address. I booked a flight home. I'd land one day before the hearing. I wasn't going to fight them in the mud. I was going to win in the light. The hearing was in a wood-paneled probate courtroom in downtown Boston. I sat alone on one side. My mother, Uncle Dan, my 2 cousins, and their lawyer filled the other. The judge walked in. Everyone stood. Be seated. Let's proceed. My family's attorney went first. He argued that my grandfather's decision to give me a plane ticket, instead of cash or property, was evidence of confusion and diminished capacity. He submitted a report from a neurologist who'd reviewed Grandpa's medical records. The doctor claimed the records showed signs of cognitive decline in his final year. Then their lawyer called Uncle Dan to the stand. In your observation, did your father seem confused near the end? Yes, my uncle said. He repeated himself. Forgot names. It was hard to watch. I watched the judge take notes. Then my attorney stood up. Ruth Castor didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence that directly contradicts the petitioner's timeline. She walked to the screen at the front of the room and pulled up the first document. The Monaco trust deed, signed and notarized on March 14, 2019. This is a legally binding trust instrument, filed with Monaco authorities 2 full years before the petitioner claims the decedent experienced cognitive decline. She zoomed in on the notarization. It required the decedent to present government identification, affirm his mental clarity, and execute the document in front of 2 independent witnesses and a licensed notary. Uncle Dan's face went pale. Ruth pulled up the next document. Correspondence between Grandpa and 3 international banks, dated 2020 and 2021. Letters discussing asset allocations, tax strategy, and currency hedging. These are not the writings of a confused man, Ruth said. My cousin Sarah started crying. Then Ruth played the final piece, a video, recorded in April 2020, in Lefebvre's Monaco office. Grandpa sat in a chair, smiling, sharp as ever. My name is William Charles Hastings. I am 88 years old, of sound mind and body, and I'm recording this to make my intentions clear. He looked directly at the camera. I have structured my estate in 2 parts. The first, my U.S. assets, I leave to my son, daughter, and grandchildren because I love them. He paused. The second, my Monaco trust, I leave solely to my grandchild who spent summers learning instead of asking, who listened instead of demanded. He leaned forward. This is not dementia, Your Honor. This is strategy. The courtroom was completely silent. The judge looked at Uncle Dan, then at their lawyer. I've seen enough. She took less than 9 minutes to decide. The petition to declare incompetence is dismissed, with prejudice. Further, I find the filing was made in bad faith. Petitioner is ordered to pay respondent's legal fees, $43,000. I stood up. Uncle Dan tried to say something to his lawyer, but I didn't hear it. I just walked out. My phone rang in the hallway. It was Lefebvre. Congratulations. Are you ready to discuss the foundation clause? I smiled for the first time in 2 weeks. Yes, I said. I'm ready. 3 months later, the dust had settled. Uncle Dan's gambling debts resurfaced. He couldn't cover them with his salary, so he sold the company shares Grandpa left him. He got less than half what they were worth. Desperation makes bad deals. My mom moved out of the beach house. She couldn't afford the property taxes. She downsized to a condo in a suburb 40 minutes outside the city. It's small, but it's paid for. She stopped posting on social media. My cousins still have their millions, but Sarah's already invested in 2 new startups. Both are bleeding cash. I give it a year. I didn't gloat. I didn't call to rub it in. I just stopped answering when they asked for loans or partnership opportunities. No anger, no speeches, just boundaries. The Monaco Trust became a foundation, just like Grandpa had planned. 50% stays invested for long-term growth. 30% funds scholarships for first-generation college students. Kids like Grandpa was. 20% is discretionary, for me to live on. It's enough to live well, to work because I want to, not because I'm desperate, to never be trapped. I endowed a chess program at the community center where Grandpa used to teach me. There's a plaque on the wall with his name on it. I kept the plane ticket. It's framed in my office, right next to a photo of him in Monaco in 1959. Same coastline. Same smile. The legal fees? The $43,000 the judge ordered them to pay? I waived it, not because I forgave them, but because I didn't need their money. And I didn't need revenge. I just needed them to know I didn't need them. Last week, I visited Grandpa's grave. I brought the photos from Monaco. I set them on the stone. You could have just told me, I said. But then I wouldn't have learned the lesson, would I? Value over dollars. Evidence over emotion. Respect over entitlement. I get it now. He didn't give me money at that funeral. He gave me a choice, and I chose to trust the man who trusted me. That plane ticket wasn't an inheritance. It was an education, and it was worth every single dollar. So here's my question for you. If you were handed a plane ticket while everyone else got millions, would you have gotten on that plane? Or would you have stayed to fight? Drop your answer in the comments. I really want to know. And if this story taught you something about family, money, and boundaries, hit that subscribe button. There's more coming. One last thing. This story is a fictionalized dramatization. Names, details, and some events have been changed. It's not legal or financial advice. But the lesson? That part's real. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.